This is the first time. Okay, yes, today start with the guests. And is there any specific subject you would like to talk about?
Sexual transportation?
Sorry?
Sexual transportation?
Sexual transmutation?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. What?
Oh, okay. I guess abstinence and then using that sexual energy and transferring up to the head.
Okay, yes, okay. Yes, that can be an interesting subject, and probably you know much more than I do. I don't know much about that, so yes, but
Oh, yeah.
of course, yes, we can go into that.
We can all learn from each other.
Okay, yes. How about you?
We've been pretty to the law of attraction lately.
Law of attraction.
And visualization, so
Of course, yes.
I'd like to touch on that.
Okay, yeah, that can be an interesting subject. How about you, Kate?
Um, nothing's coming up for me.
Okay, yes, that's okay too. And Kamala, is there any specific thing in your mind to talk about? No. What do you think, Jennifer?
I'm open.
Open, yes. Okay. So, about the subject that you said, I don't know much. We can, of course, talk about that too. But you will be the guru then, because you know better than me, I guess. So, yeah. But we can go into that.
Of course, yeah.
And so, law of attraction is I know some a little bit, and but we can go into that as well if you want. And I will perhaps start with something which may be related to law of attraction, so that we can see all together and go through that subject. And I thought about that quite a deal, about the subject of law of attraction. And I have a feeling, and if one is well synchronized with the universe itself, then law of attraction works better, right? And then, of course, the next question will be, what does it mean to be well synchronized with the universe itself, right? And I went into that question, and based on my observations and meditation about that, I can say, if one is truly happy, then one can be synchronized with the universe itself. Does it make sense?
Truly happy.
Truly happy, yes.
Okay.
Yes, which means then we will have to go into the question of true happiness, maybe, right? That's the next thing. Does it make sense to, like, if one is, let's say, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I'm suffering, then do you think I can be well synchronized with the universe? No, right? So it makes sense in a way, right? So that means if I am really happy, right, then I can move as one with the movement of the universe.
You flow.
The flow, yes. I can get into the flow. So happiness is the key then. It becomes the key, right? So then, if we agree to that, all of us, then we will go into the question of happiness. Of course, that's the next step. So, is it okay, this one? Okay, yes, so we can start then. And naturally, when we understand what that happiness is, I think things will start taking in our life. The things will start taking place in our life with that formula or the force of law of attraction. So, what does it mean to be happy? Let me ask you first. You look quite happy, so maybe I can learn
I
from
think
you.
for me, I think it's
Yes.
gratitude. Like always being
Yes, of
grateful.
course, yes,
And also
yes.
like, I guess high vibration. Like when you're happy, you feel
Yes.
high vibration.
High vibration,
Yeah.
of course. Yes, yes, yes. You're right. Yes. How about you?
For me lately, I think happiness is being able to be at peace with yourself and like in whatever's happening in your life, no matter if it is happiness or
Yes.
sadness or
Yes, yes,
anything you might
yes.
be feeling.
Acceptance in a way.
Yes,
Yes.
instead of like even if you feel sad, you kind of have to be at peace with
Yes.
the fact that you feel sad
Yes.
and be grateful that you are able to be alive to experience that sadness.
Yes. That's a very interesting point, which implies basically you are not escaping from that sadness. That's something we talked about yesterday. You are not escaping. Because there may be an escape too. Let's say I am sad, right? And I don't want to be sad, and I will escape from that sadness into certain activities, such as, a cinema, going to a football match, drinking, or girlfriend, boyfriend, right? All these can be escapes from my sadness, right? But what you said, I think it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, implies that it's good not to escape from sadness, right? Yeah?
Lately what I've been doing is any emotion, I feel like I just bathe in it and kind of become
Yes.
it.
Which means you're not escaping into certain
Yeah.
activities.
Exactly. You more
Yes.
get into it.
Yes.
There's this book I've been
Yes.
reading, or I read, called Dune by
Yes.
Frank Herbert. It's a fiction.
Oh, okay.
But there's this line, that a famous litany in that book,
Yeah.
and it says, "Fear is the mind killer. I will become the fear. I will let it wash over me. Let it wash through me.
Yes.
And at the end, only I will remain."
Yes.
So become
Yes.
it, and then it'll.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So, for instance, in the Zen sect of Buddhism, they say just let it flower. All thoughts, all feelings, such as fear, right? Let it flower without trying to change it, without trying to escape from it, without giving a name to it, right? So let that feeling flower within you. Don't escape. And then just silently be aware. Does it make sense? Yeah?
I think it's interesting that you're talking. I mean, I'm in perfect agreement. But I think it's interesting that you're
Of course.
talking about this word happiness.
Happiness, yes.
And yet, you're talking about being perfect with sadness, which is like the opposite of happiness, right?
Yes.
Because you're saying being with whatever it is happiness, and whatever it is could be fear, sadness.
Yes.
So
yes.
it's kind of,
Yes.
I don't know about that word happy so much, but
Yes.
right? But
Yeah.
it's all perfect. I think what you're saying, but we're using all these words. I think are very limiting.
Of course, of
sometimes.
course,
Superficial.
of course,
Yeah.
of course. Words
Right?
can
Because
be
when you're
very
thinking
limiting.
happiness,
Of
you're
course.
thinking
Of course.
whatever.
For happiness
Yeah.
can mean
But-
1,000 different things for 1,000 different people.
Right.
Of course. That's why we need to use words to communicate.
This is true.
But of course, we should be very aware of ourselves when we use such words. So we should go beyond the certain images we attach to those words. It's not easy because our minds function in such a way that every word has an image attached to it based on our past experiences. And so it's important to be aware of that too. But therefore, I will perhaps continue by going into the question of happiness and what I mean by that. Therefore, I just generally use true happiness, because happiness in today's life can mean many different things to many different people. Somebody, if they achieve to buy a good car, they say, this is my happiness, right? And then it's not enough, and then the person continues to achieve more. That's the path to happiness for some people. For others, it's a different meaning, right? So therefore, it's quite subjective for every human being. But can there be another meaning to happiness which may be more objective? And that's what I am trying to go into. And by the way, we didn't get your opinion. Kate,
Of
also.
what happiness is
Yes.
to me. Well, recently it's changed through time.
Yes.
Right now, for me, it means just I want to be me, and I want to just have the freedom to be me.
Yes.
Because I spent so much of my life modifying me for others
Yes.
that even just like discovering me all over again is very nice and very makes me just feel joy. And then the second level to that is not only just knowing that for myself, but like actually being able to be like that and to be just, you know, like, how should I respond in this moment? Like, no, this is how I want to respond. This is how I'm responding. So that's been really difficult for me and makes me happy to be in. So.
Anything you want to add, Kamala?
Well,
You look quite happy.
well, it's it's interesting. I've been conscious for 20 years.
Yes.
I went through my transformation 20 years ago, and so living the human life and being on the one hand an enlightened being, and on the other hand a regular human being. You know,
yes.
we're both, right?
Yes.
And so it's so there's this one aspect that's happy.
Yes,
She's perfect. There's
Yes.
no
question.
There's no question. And yet there's the human side that's still going through her changes. You know, that as a conscious being, I do what you say. You know, I accept
Yes.
what is, and that's wonderful. I really love it when you just see yourself, the human aspects or whatever aspects, shifting in the moment. I just that's to me
Yes.
is happiness. Ooh, look at that! I'm not at that goal, but look at that new way that she is being. You know, oh, I love her. She, you know,
Yes.
just in the shifts that she's making.
Yes.
That's happiness to me, even if I got up from off the ground.
Yes.
You know, it's seeing those shifts of happiness. But I guess it just has this dual aspect. I mean, it's very interesting to have this space that's always perfect, and then being with this human life that's quite imperfect,
Imperfect, yes.
and watching her and being with her and being happy for her,
Yes.
loving her
Yes.
as she does whatever she needs to do.
Jennifer?
I like what everyone has said,
Okay, yes.
and Kate about the freedom of being yourself. Something I've looked at in my own life is being myself, my joyful self alone, and then integrating with a group, with Jennifer alone, and then Jennifer as the same person in a group, and being same. Yeah. And then, but there's also that other aspect of becoming too. So there's something of being and becoming, and somewhere in the middle of that being and becoming, that is happy state.
Happy state, yes.
Can I add to something you were saying? So you said that you kind of observe yourself as you do certain changes, right? And even if it's like you said, you're picking yourself up off the ground, you are conscious and aware of yourself doing the movement of getting up, right? And you really appreciate those changes. So it's kind of that happiness that you talked about is kind of a constant state of mind, and it's not really influenced by exterior experiences or happenings. It's something that whatever happens, your happiness is your acceptance of that happening.
Yeah, and that's what I think
Going into
that's what you
exactly.
were saying, right? I thought that was what you
Yeah,
said.
it is. No, we were all on the same page.
Yeah,
Awesome.
but it's but life is still happening. We're still on planet Earth, and there's a lot of things that are coming at us, and so but seeing self with those things and new responses, I love, because some of those patterns from childhood, people think when you transcend it, they pop up. It doesn't work that way. They don't pop off. You came here in this lifetime to move through them. To him, at least for me, anyway. Maybe for some people that pops off. I mean, it's true. I mean, I mean, I think about it sometimes from just earthly things like finances. We come here from different cultures, with different financial opportunities, depending, and so you transcend it. Your money doesn't just change, right? Your finances don't just change. But then if you want or allow, because we're co-creating with the divine, if you want to manifest, or what was the word you use? Attract, a different level of living than that you incarnated with, then you have to watch him shift, be with him as she shifts, right? Help move her along. It doesn't just like.
How would you help move along? Like you're saying, watch. Yeah, how would you do it?
Well, I don't know why I went to the website for something, and there was a video on you, and I never watch videos of teachers, but there was one video, and I watched it, and I loved what you said.
Oh, wow.
I loved
Some
it.
people like it.
It was on attraction or something,
Law of
and
attraction,
it was
yes.
really what I know as truth. But he said it so lovely. You were saying, like, if you were going to the grocery store, I don't remember the example you gave, that you are going, I'm going to go to the grocery store.
Oh, yes,
in the
you
morning.
have no doubts.
You have no doubts.
Yes.
You're on your way to the grocery store, right?
Yes.
It's just a knowingness, an absoluteness.
Yes.
I'm going to the
Yes.
grocery store tomorrow.
Yes.
Instead of, will I go to the grocery store?
Yes, will I go to the grocery store? Or it's not like you are trying to manifest grocery store.
Right.
You are actually going to the grocery
You're going
store.
to the
You are not
grocery
trying to manifest it.
Yes.
So I think there is a fundamental difference between the two,
Yeah.
Right.
right? Because you are trying to manifest, that means you have doubts.
Yes.
You don't have any doubts of going to the grocery store. You are actually going there. So manifestation, I think, is closely related to that.
Right.
Yes, I remember that.
I like
it was some
that.
time ago.
There's a certainty to it. It's like you already have those things.
Yes.
The belief system.
Yes, and some people come on the planet in families where the belief system is, I'm going to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
It's a certainty too.
Yes.
It's just the way
They start with that.
They
yes.
start with
yes.
that.
Yes. Yes.
So, and
It's
other
like-
people come without
Yes.
that.
It's
They
for
don't have
for
that
them.
as a
It's like going to
certainty.
the grocery
It's
store
like going
because
to the
that's how
grocery
what they were born into.
That's right.
So that's why it can be easier for sometimes
Yeah.
for people. Yes.
So it's learning to make that shift of what's your
Yes,
where you go.
learning to make that shift is a big thing because our minds are heavily programmed, conditioned from childhood. That's something
We were
talked
just talking
about.
about that.
Yes, yes. So we need to break through those programs and free ourselves because if we don't, most probably the reality we will be experiencing is going to be the end result of that program. So yes, so we need to free ourselves from such programs. And I think that's also related. So you see, we are coming again back to the heart of spirituality. Freedom,
And that's what Kate said, and I said,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
What?
free
Yeah.
freedom.
Freedom,
Uh-huh.
happiness, and love. I don't think these are separable. One cannot exist without the other. One cannot possibly be truly happy. I'll go into the question of true happiness as well. What I mean by that. So one cannot possibly be truly happy without that feeling of love in one side. Right?
Mhm.
So, and what was the third thing we said?
Freedom.
Huh? Freedom, yes. And freedom, one cannot possibly have that love in one's heart without that quality of freedom of the mind.
Love of yourself at first before you can.
Love of yourself, it depends how you define it.
Acceptance, I would say.
You know, when you say love of yourself, what do you mean by that? Like, love of the physical body is natural to experience this life. What is more than that?
Love of, because I think love is just everything. So
Yes.
love of nature, love of
Yes,
Yeah.
Love of nature, love of life, love of the physical body, you're experiencing the reality. But you said love of oneself.
Mm-hmm.
What does that oneself mean? I say the physical body, right? Is love of the physical body is good. But if you include the center, the ego center, in your definition of love of oneself, then I may not agree with that. Because that may strengthen the ego.
Oh, okay. And you wanted to solve the ego. Or
Let's put it this way. The ego may be at the heart of our human problem. I don't know, we will go into that question. So it's I perceive that to be true. So that's why I am questioning whether humans can free themselves from the self-center, the ego. And the next question is, can one truly love from a center? And what is true love? So that's the other question. The next question is, yes. So, can there be conditions in love?
what do you mean by condition?
Condition means I love you because.
Mm-mm.
Huh?
I think you just
Yes.
love is this. It's not something that because of something. It's just something that's there.
That is there.
Yeah,
yes.
it's just something.
Yes.
Yeah.
In today's life, if you observe closely, our program is generally to give and love only based on certain conditions. I have to get something from you too, right? So it's like a kind of subtle trade relationship. So that is what I mean by conditional love. There are conditions. Can there be also quality of unconditional love, in which there is no because? I love you, and there is no because. Is that possible?
Yeah.
I don't expect anything from you, right? But if you observe in today's life, when you look closely, human relationship is based on expectations. Sometimes, many times, it's very subtle. It's not very obvious. Even married couples, right? If you observe, there is always some form of give and take. You give me security, psychological security, or financial security. So that's why I love you. But if you don't give me that, I may not love you anymore. If you are bankrupt, for instance, I may leave you. Right? So then is there love in that relationship? True love.
Not true love.
Huh?
Not true love.
True love, yes. But for me, that's the only love. And that true love is not separate from what is at the heart of spirituality.
What is that true love?
What is that true love? Yes, so we will go into that. Again, we still continue on the first point we started with, law of attraction. We will come back to that. But now we are taken to this point because as we walk in this path, we started with happiness, right? And then we are walking and we saw that happiness is not separate from freedom and love. That's why we are going into the question of love, true love. For me, that's the only love. So we will go into that question. So, what I mean by true love is unconditional love. And also, there is no center as the ego. Doesn't mean anything. Because everything we know about love is In most cases, it's a program. Like the programs you have been talking about, we are also programmed to love. But can there be another quality of love in which there is no such program? Which means it's not a learned behavior. Like a computer. A computer gets the program, right? The AI, for instance, you know about AI. And going to the future, 20 years from now, it will be so developed that AI is almost perfect. And there will be certain robots, human-like robots, sitting in this table. They will join the spiritual discussions. And they will also talk about love. Right? And you may feel they can even love more than humans. Right? But that is a program. Program in the sense it's recorded in the memory, which is the past, right? And then we act based on that past knowledge.
There's no way. Okay, so
Yes.
a mother has a child. That child,
Yes.
I would say, has love that is not programmed. It's just love, right?
The child is not yet programmed. Yes, the baby.
It's just unconditional love for the mother.
For the mother, having the child, you mean the love of the mother for the baby?
Sure, that
Is that what you're asking?
Yes. So the mother loves the child unconditionally. It's not a learned thing. It's just something that's there.
Yes, at certain points I would say yes. Like in most cases when the baby is first born, right, and they're given to the mother, and then at that very moment there is great love.
Isn't there love when it's in the womb?
There may be love, but when in life, because the mother is also programmed, there are certain moments that program stops. This is one of the moments when you first get the baby, right? There is no program anymore. It's just the love of the baby. Or you climb the mountaintop and you see a beautiful view for the first time.
Okay.
Then your past stops, your memory, that your past doesn't interfere with what you see for the first time. There's such beauty there, then your past stops and you just see that beauty, right?
Your preconceived notions
Yes,
don't matter.
yes.
It's
So
just
there's
now.
perception
So
at that moment.
with that, is there not a way that artificial intelligence cannot not only learn that love through a program, but be just love like a mother loves a child when it first is healthy?
No, because artificial intelligence must depend on memory. It must have a memory.
And with that memory comes those programs.
Yes. We need memory to function in daily life, right? To drive a car or to study your classes, you need memory. You cannot survive in this world without memory. We need memory to function, right? But when it comes to love, do we need memory? Learn behavior?
No.
No. We don't need it. On the contrary, the moment we love based on what we learn, that's a conditioned love. It's not free love. It's a conditioned behavior. This is what I learned to be loved, so I will apply in my life. I will love you the way I was taught. Right? This is the way I was taught. If I am a Christian, this is how you love. If you believe in another thing, this is how you love. Right? There are different programs. So what I'm saying is, can there be freedom? And isn't freedom necessary?
Yes, because without that freedom, you are susceptible to your preconceived notions and those other programs that dictate where you are applying that love, right?
Yes. So
the freedom is necessary for you to escape those preconceived notions of what love should be.
yes. Yes. freedom must be there to love.
I agree.
Yes.
I was thinking this whole conversation about my grandchildren,
Yes.
and because when you were saying, well, a mother loves,
Yes.
right? But I love what you said in that moment when they first come.
Yes.
That's because, like, when I'm with my grandchildren, I have to be conscious to just love them, not if they look at me a certain way.
Yes.
Not because they're special. Not, it comes in there so close that I have to just go into a place of just loving them. No matter what. No matter what. As much as I love them, in the traditional ways, to love them, I have to let all that go. Because there's something you're wanting just a little bit, from them, or because they are the way they are. But to just love, I have to really,
Yes.
I bring that different than that other kind of loving
Yes.
that we
Conditioned.
are conditioned.
Yes.
Like that mother who let her child eat the white bread and the potato chips and
Yes.
she thought that was being
Yes.
loving.
Of course. Yes.
Right?
So yes, that's true. The same mother has the baby, there is love there. But then the same mother, when the baby grows, becomes an adult or a teenager adult, then the same mother may condition the baby with certain aspects, right? And then the same mother may also say you can go to the army and die for your country, right? Perhaps kill another human being, right? Same mother we are talking about.
Yeah.
So, it is the same mother when the baby first came, all those programs are gone. There is love. But then, in life, those programs will come back. Because very few people are very free, right? People are very conditioned in many different directions. So, if we agree to that, then next question is, can we free ourselves from all these programs? Why do we have programs?
I think it starts from when we're young.
Uh-huh.
When we're young
Yes,
and we're growing and we're very like a sponge.
yes,
And let's say you have parents that are loving,
of course.
then you get those programs. But Let's
Yes.
say you have abusive parents, then you get
Yes.
programs.
Yes,
But then you can change that through affirmations that we're actually thinking about. Like if
you can change them,
Yeah.
you can reprogram yourself.
yeah, exactly.
Yes, but instead of reprogramming, can you free yourself from all programs and never program again? Do we need programs to exist in this world? Do I need any program to talk to you, or to love you, or to be in a relationship with you?
To talk, I think. Oh, because language is.
I need memory,
yeah.
right? For the words and everything. But to be in human relationship with you, do I need any program?
I guess not, because body language is also.
Apart from that, I don't think I need any program to love you. On the contrary, I can never love you truly if I function through programs. Because love can only take place in the present moment. So the past must die. I will have memory to function. But I do not need psychological memory to exist in this world. I need physical memory to drive a car, to cook. But I don't need psychological memory, which is dictating my relationship with you. How should I behave, right? All these. So can there be freedom?
I heard something on NPR, I didn't listen to it completely, but it was a woman, a doctor who studied the brain.
Yes.
I don't remember what she did exactly, but she had like a stroke.
Okay. Yes.
She was studying, and she had a stroke, and
Yes, I watched that. That's a TED talk, right?
it was a TED talk.
Yes,
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 I was
yes.
listening to it on
Jill
driving.
Bolte Taylor, I believe.
We saw it more
yes.
than once.
Yes, yes, that's a beautiful one.
And it was, I didn't listen to all of it, but it sounded like she lost all her programming.
Yes,
with the stroke.
her left brain died.
Her left brain
Yes,
died.
yes.
She had, and so she had to learn to be again. I didn't hear all of that, but I
Yes.
remember the person asking her, "Well, are you glad that that stroke happened?
Yes.
That her, basically the self she was no longer existed."
Yes.
But all her like
Wow.
motor skills and memory
Yes.
dysfunction is
Yes.
still there.
That
Yes.
function-
Which is a right
Mhm.
brain.
Yes. Then she learned it again. But
Yeah.
at that very moment of stroke, left brain is totally collapsed, died. Right brain still existed, right? So she's still conscious, but not with the left brain, which is the brain which is more mechanical, technical, memory, learning about things. Right brain is more about, I would say, consciousness, deeper consciousness. So when the left died, only the experiencing of life in that present moment remained.
She said she was in nirvana.
Nirvana, yes.
It's like,
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. The left brain, the chattering mind thought, ended. But she was still conscious with the right brain.
it's nice on the TED Talk. You can see her acting like nirvana. She's
Oh, you saw the video.
yes,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
she saw her.
Did it come back for her, the left brain?
Yes, slowly
Slowly.
the left brain came back again. She learned everything again. But she is describing the experience she had at that moment.
Okay.
And you can tell she was in ecstasy, that's what she said. Because thought stopped, which is the left brain, which is the self-centered, the ego, came to an end. And so does it make sense? Huh?
Being in the
Okay,
present
yes.
moment.
If you disagree with anything, anytime, please just express your opinions. So from there, let's go into this happiness question. They are all related. Is true happiness, of course, that's what I mean by happiness. Because many people describe their happiness with many different things. For somebody to be, for instance, take a good job in a company is the happiness, right? But then it's not enough, and to become the manager is the next purpose, and then one becomes the manager, and that's the path of happiness for some people, right? There's an object, there's a purpose, right? Or somebody says, if I have that big beautiful house by the beach, I will be happy. If I am with this woman, I'll be happy. If I am with that man, I'll be happy. So there's an object. So the happiness is dependent on an outward object, right? And this is, I would say, what generally most of the society describe their happiness about. And is that true happiness? If my happiness is depending on some outside objects. It's good to have things of life. There's nothing wrong. A good car, right? If you like. Or a good house, all those things. It's nice to enjoy the things of the life. There is nothing wrong. But is that the purpose of life in this sense? Is it true happiness? Or there is something deeper?
I don't think it's true happiness.
It is not.
It's not.
Yes. So what is true happiness then? So if we eliminate all the objects, which is I am happy because, now we say there is no because in true happiness. Right? So I'm left with nothing.
I think it's being in the present moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just no
Being
thought.
fully, totally in the present moment. And there is no cause then for your happiness. Out of nowhere it may come. The joy of living. Right?
Yes.
And then I'm not attached to anything. Because this is not the source of my happiness. The house, the car, all the objects, my position in life. Right? The money I have, all those. Is not the source of my happiness. And therefore I'm not dependent. I'm not attached to any of these things.
Your happiness is simply being.
Being and freedom, inward freedom. My happiness is not depending on anything. I can experience the things of life. I can take a certain path. If I like law, I study law. I become a lawyer. If I like to be a doctor, I'll become a doctor. All these are okay. But I am never depending my inner happiness and well-being to those things. That demands extraordinary sense of awareness of the activities of the mind, because again we are so heavily programmed, conditioned to depend our happiness into those things. Success in life is one of them, right? Material success is one of them. So if I love to do something and that success comes to me, that's okay, but I don't live for that. That's not my purpose. And therefore I'm not going to be attached to that if that success comes to me. But many people live for that. That's their purpose of living. To climb the ladders of success, right? And there's an interesting example. It's like 100-floor building, right? The more you climb, the more the fear of falling. That's why I observed, I used to live in Hong Kong, for instance, for a long time. There are many millionaires there. And you observe, and the millionaires are much more unhappy than the poor people working for them. Because they have so much fear. They are so high on that material process, and there's fear of falling. They are attached to everything they have, so much. Therefore, they can never be free. And therefore, it's very difficult for them to be truly happy. They are imprisoned in those things that they possess. There is nothing wrong to have things of the world, but one must have this deep awareness and intelligence that comes with that awareness. So I won't be attached. I'll just play with them. I'll have them. I'll enjoy them, but I will not be attached. Is it possible? Because our minds have a great tendency to be attached. Therefore, our happiness then begins to depend on those things. Yes.
Does not being attached mean the same thing as being okay if those things disappear?
Yes, exactly. Therefore, you have no fear.
Very difficult.
Very difficult. Of course, very difficult. Because our minds are very heavily conditioned to be attached. It's extremely difficult. But as far as I can see, that's a very important aspect of spirituality. Not being attached to the things of the world. That doesn't mean the opposite, which is being detached. Right? Not trying to practice detachment, because every opposite has its roots in the other opposite, so they are related. But going beyond both, the duality of attachment and detachment, and freedom from both attachment and detachment. So then one can perhaps experience
Juice? Water?
Some water.
I'll get it.
Thank you.
then perhaps one can experience a sense of happiness and joy just because one is alive. Not because of anything else.
I think lately, for the past 2 months or so, I've been sleeping with positive affirmations.
Yes.
And I feel that every time I wake up, I feel like I had a really good dream.
Yes.
And I know it wasn't a dream,
Yeah.
but it had the same feeling as like, oh, that was a good dream and I want to go back.
Yes.
But it's just those affirmations. And with that, I feel like I reprogram my mind to some extent, because whenever my mind wanders now
Yes.
and I realize it, it's never something negative. It's always a positive thought, a productive thought.
Yes. So, one thing, maybe you are using that word reprogram. So, if I can understand what you mean by that, is that intentional effort to place a new program?
Yes.
So, you are replacing the old program with a new program, right?
Yeah.
But it's still a program. It may make you feel better for the moment, right, compared to the old program, but it is still a program which has its roots in the past, in your memory,
I see.
right?
Yeah.
Without that memory, that program cannot function. So basically, you are meeting this present moment with that program which has its roots in the past. Therefore, you can never actually meet the present moment, because you are trying to touch the present moment through past. That program is past. What happens if you drop all programs? Is it possible to drop all programs? Someone doesn't
I don't
have any
think so.
program. Huh?
I don't think it's possible.
You don't think it's possible? For one to say it is not possible, one first, I think, should go very, very, very deep into the very heart of origin of that program and see whether it can be ended or it cannot be ended, right? If you go deep into the very origin of the program and then see it cannot be ended, then yes. But did you do that?
How could you do that?
How could you do that? Yes, that's a good question. One must start with thinking process, because thought itself is at the heart of programs, right?
Yes.
Thinking is the program itself.
Sure.
Isn't that
Yeah.
so? Yeah.
Yes.
So then you will ask the question, what is thinking? If you want to go deeper into that. Right? What is thinking? Because we never looked at what thinking is. We think about many different things, but we never turn inward and look, okay, I think about many different things, but what is thinking itself? And what is the I? What is the ego? The thinker. What's the relationship of the two? The thinker and the thought. Right? This is how you go deep. And then the deeper you go, the more clear insight you will have whether one can end those programs or not. But I think one should go deep to find the truth of that matter.
I see.
Yeah?
Mm.
So, and then I feel, and also perhaps in my personal experience, when one begins this journey of going deep, watching the thought process, understanding, going beyond that process, then the mind is being freed in that process. And therefore, it's more open to touch that other thing, which you may call true happiness. Because it's freeing itself from all these programs, conditionings, which is really destructive to the living energy, dynamic life energy within oneself.
One step to freeing, like one of the initial steps to freeing yourself is being aware of those
Being
programs.
aware of the program.
And
Of course.
that's why meditation is so key, right? Because with
Yes.
meditation, you're able to really step back and observe those thoughts.
Observe thoughts,
Observe
yes,
the program.
of course, of course.
I see.
But then
Of
isn't
course.
that a method, another method?
It depends. If I observe my thoughts, like I observe the bird on that tree with no methods, I don't need a method to watch that bird. The moment I am given a method to watch that bird, I will never watch that bird actually. I'm talking about an actual bird on the tree, right? Do I need a method to watch that bird? I just look. I don't need the Buddhist method, I don't need the Christian method, I just look at the bird. The moment I take the Buddhist method to look at the bird, I will never look at the bird. So I drop all methods.
Because now you put a program there.
Of course.
And now with that program, you're now actually fully present, experiencing.
Yes, yes. So, but the moment I drop all programs, I'm in the present moment. I'm looking, I'm aware. The moment the program comes, past begins to function. Right?
Yeah.
So, exactly in the same way I watch the bird in the tree, can I watch thoughts? With no programs. I don't need a program to watch that bird. But it's not very easy to watch what is within. Because it's part of me. The bird is not. So I can watch the bird more objectively, easily. But when it comes to watching myself, it's not that easy to watch it objectively. Pure observation without judgment. Never judging what you see there. Never saying this is good or bad. Just watch. Where is method in this? Just be aware. Silent. You don't need a method. Do you?
You can also watch like your life. Watch
Yes. Yes.
life, right?
Yes.
You
Of
can
course.
look at,
Yes.
cycles.
Yes.
One thing that's moved with me is I'm really into my grandchildren, obviously.
Yes. Yes.
And when they were born, especially by the second one,
Yes.
it was the first time in my life that I wanted a house. I
House,
never cared
yes.
about having a
Of
house my
course,
whole
yeah.
life long. But I wanted grandma's house.
Yes.
I wanted
yes.
grandma's house for them to be able to come to and
Yes.
let go and
Yeah.
be, like they are at home, but another place where they could just be.
Yes.
And so then I got this desire to have a house, right?
Exactly.
And but I didn't come with the means of having that, but it's been there, right?
Yes.
But I have watched year after year, living in different places and
Yes.
coming back.
Yeah.
Wherever I take a house, whether it's my own sublet or it's a room in someone's house,
Yes.
but every year it's a different. I've watched them be so at home
At home, yes.
with me wherever it is that I am.
Yeah.
And the happiness be so present,
Yes.
even if it's a room in someone's house. That thing that I really wanted
Yes. Yes.
happens.
Happens. Yes.
It happens.
Yes. Yes.
Whether I get the house or not.
Yes.
And I love what you're saying, because if I do get the house, I'll know it's not the house.
Yes. Yes.
Because life has shown me year after year that in that moment, the energy between us is the happiness.
Is the
Is the happiness. So the house can come, the house doesn't have to come.
yes.
You know?
Yes.
I gave me the chills.
Yeah.
Huh?
I gave me the chills.
Yeah, it's nice. So you can see your own life shift, your own, oh, this is my desire, this is my, yeah? But then see how life shows you.
Yes.
It just reveals you. It reveals the understanding as it progresses or moves.
I love that. Life shows you you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Life becomes the teacher.
Yeah.
Life is the best teacher.
That's a
Yes.
chapter, right?
Yes.
I saw
yes.
the table
You saw
content.
that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is it. Yeah. And so, what do you think, Isaac?
About
Uh-huh.
No, I completely agree on everything. Like I read the book Power of Now. I
Power
don't
of
know.
Now, yes,
Yeah, and
yes,
that was
yes.
actually the book that got me started on this.
Okay, yes.
this
Me too.
journey. Yes.
20 years ago.
Yes.
When the
it
first
was a really
the book
good
first came out. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, that book really got me. That's when I started meditating. And
Yes,
so I
yes.
completely agree with everything you're saying.
Okay, yes. Yes, I'm glad also like young people like yourself are interested in
Yeah.
these things. Right? It's important because especially when one is young, if one questions these things because you have a long life ahead and you begin to free yourself from such conditionings that society has imposed upon all of us basically, then the possibilities are much higher that you will really have a happy life. This thing doesn't come in one day, but you are on that path. Because you are on that path, it will touch you more and more, often.
When would you say you kind of became more like conscious of all those things of yourself?
Yes.
Was that at a younger age? Was that like midlife?
I personally started questioning all these things that we talk about when I was about in my early 20s. That's when I started.
Okay.
And like your age, more or less, I guess. You guys are like in your early 20s.
How old are you guys, if you don't mind me?
I'm 19.
19.
21.
Oh, you are younger than that. Okay, yes,
That
because
is
you said you are
great.
graduating. Yeah, very young. Yes, you are even younger than me. Yes. When I was at your age, I was out every night partying. So I wasn't thinking about these things. And I tell you this, if somebody told me that we are going up to this mountain and we will have a spiritual retreat, I would say, just leave me out of that thing. So it would be impossible for me to come to a place like this when I was at your. I would say crazy people are doing these kind of things.
One thing for me, I'm the youngest brother, and I have
Okay.
3 brothers,
Uh-huh.
and my oldest one is very philosophical,
Okay.
and he's kind of like put it on both the younger brothers.
Yes.
So I think from them, I'm kind of a result of their way of thinking,
Okay.
and I feel like I've gotten a lot of their wisdom, even starting at a young age.
Yes. Good.
So,
Yes,
yeah,
that's
I owe
a
a
good
lot to
effect.
them.
Yeah, of course.
Mm.
Very good. Because at the young ages, whatever you receive is really will affect your life until you free yourself from those things. But if you start with some wisdom, that's very good for your life. Because I didn't have that to begin with. In my family or in the environment I was or in the school. Schools are all about, material subjects and success and those
Sure, yeah.
things. They never tell you about these things.
Mhm.
Nobody talks about these things, which I think is the most important thing of life. No children are taught about these things.
It's the invariable part of life.
Yes,
Everything else
Yes,
will
yes.
fluctuate.
but if you're lucky enough to have some wise people around you when you're little, then obviously your wisdom journey will start earlier.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a very good thing. You're lucky. Okay, so would you like to add anything, or otherwise we can end the discussion?
Maybe we can talk about, you said sexual
sexual
trans-
Oh yes,
transfer
yes.
and
Let me
Oh,
hear
yes.
from you a little bit then.
I was going
Because
to say
I-
maybe tomorrow, but okay, let's do it
Just
now.
start a little bit and then.
Yeah. So I guess sexual transmutation is a term. I've been reading a book on Taoism
Okay, yes.
and cultivating the sexual energy within. And it
Okay,
talks about
yes.
yin yang,
Yes.
the woman, men, sexual energy
Yes.
together. But it talks a lot about how like the men's sexual energy,
Yes,
when your seed,
yes,
it has energy within.
yes,
And a lot of young men in their 20s are,
yes.
it's a kind of like, I guess a kind of success. Like, oh, I'm getting laid with all these women, you know.
Yes, yes.
Um,
That's what I have been.
Yeah, but then once you learn to, a lot of them don't realize that it's with love, you know. If you
Yes,
find that,
yes,
and then when you conserve that sexual energy and you can
yes.
transmute it and use it for higher purposes other than.
So then one important aspect of that is, I believe, I don't know much about it, but see, there is one important thing there, which if there is any sense of control imposed by thought, saying I will control my sexual desires in order to achieve something higher, that very aspect of control is, can be a kind of serious destruction of inner energy. Because there is the desire, it's strong, especially when one is young. And then this idea of controlling it in order to achieve something else comes in, and there's a battle between the two.
Right.
The desire to have sex and the desire to control that desire, right? So that I will achieve something higher, right? So if there is such sense of conflict and battle within oneself, I think that will not help to gather the spiritual energy,
I see.
right? So that one must find a very well balance of these two. So for me, what is more important is the understanding, and then going beyond if one can, rather than applying certain techniques and ideas, which is control, to go beyond. I don't think one can truly go beyond with control. So there must be no sense of control, but rather understanding. And with that understanding, one can go beyond, right? And then naturally, with no conflict and the battle between two opposing forces, then one can achieve perhaps a higher state of inner energy.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
But wouldn't you need to start the process, some level of, I guess, because when you're being conscious, because then if you're subconscious, that's when your sexual desires comes out. But if you're truly conscious in the present moment, then you can, I guess that's like the...
So if you are entirely in the present moment, then the sexual desire in the form of the self-centered desire which remembers past experiences of sex and then tries to have it again because of those past experiences of pleasure, then tries to have it again, then that already implies there is no living in the present moment again. The past memories come, I have had this pleasurable experience and I want it to be repeated, right? Therefore I'm seeking sexuality.
But isn't that sexuality something that we desire even before you have a sexual experience?
Because, yes, we do. And that may be because of the programs and conditionings we inherit
As
Humans.
animals.
as humans,
right?
yes, from the animal, yes. So that's one aspect of it, of course. And and when one is young, there is the biological factor too. It's not only the programs and conditionings, there is the biological aspect of the body. So different things affect it. And but personally, I think controlling is something that one mustn't do. Controlling desires in order to achieve something higher. Because that very control.
What?
I don't know, it's a big thing. What
Okay.
is it?
Alright.
Okay. Oh my god!
Is it a beetle?
It didn't sound like a beetle. It sounded like
It's
a
on
dragon.
its back and it's
A dragon.
suffering.
So how do you
Yes.
go about? I think that's what Isaac was getting at. How do you go about starting that? I guess journey or like that transcendence without some control, like without some things that you control to get to there.
In return to sexual energy, you mean?
Sure. Yes.
I would say for any desire within oneself, I don't think control is the answer. Because control creates a kind of wastage of energy, because it creates a conflict between the desire to have that thing and
Whether it be sex or a brownie? Or...
yes, anything. So the desire to have that thing, and the other part of the mind says, I must stop that desire in order to achieve something, right? So there's a battle. That battle is wastage of spiritual energy. So that battle must come to an end. For that, I will say I will not control, But that doesn't mean I will eat this chocolate every single day in excessive amounts, right? I desire that. I understood control is not the answer, so I stop control. So what then? Then I observe. I'm very aware of those desires as they arise. I watch. That very state of watchfulness will bring about an understanding of that desire and the origin of that desire. And then it may naturally be dissolved without control. And then there is no conflict. So that's freedom.
Okay.
Freedom from desire, not controlling desire. That's the key. Yes.
That's true.
And freedom implies no conflict.
And the control is what we're seeing in all of these spiritual teachers today, that, they went out and did big work, and then we find out that all these other things have been happening because they went the path of control.
Of course. Of course.
From the Catholic priests
Yes.
to
And then they have sex with
gurus.
children.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
Pedophilia in the Catholic
Yes.
Church. Because they control that.
Control.
Yes.
I mean, you
Yes.
said it. That's it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I won't.
Yes.
I won't.
Yeah.
And then they do.
I mean, I guess the sexual transmutation, I guess it's you control it, but then once you find the mate, you can still have sex. So it's not like you're still letting your sexual desires out
Yes.
without spilling the seed. There's a way, tantric
Okay.
sex.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know much about that.
Yeah,
Really?
but that's what Taoism book
Okay,
is,
yes.
tantric. So it's,
Okay.
you're not really control. So you're still letting your sexual desires
Okay.
go out
Yes. Okay.
without spilling.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Conserving the sexual
yes,
energy.
because I don't know much about it, I won't be able to say.
Okay, no,
yes,
you're good,
yes, yes. I never read books or so. I don't
Okay,
know.
okay. But yeah, I get what you mean by controlling it versus
Yes,
still use.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Wait, so I think what you're saying, you're letting that desire come out without.
You can still express it through sex, but instead of you can have it's called tantric sex where you can conserve your sexual energy. It's a whole process.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I see.
Okay. Okay, then in this case, we can end it today. We can continue tomorrow. Yeah?
That was awesome.
Okay, thank you very
much.
much.
Great
Of course.
time.
Yes.
Yeah, it was good.
This is tiring.